right, Black Nurse Talk. We're here again with some nerd therapy. And right now I have an amazing guest I've been looking forward to do a session with.
So I just
Yeah,
be
just say who you
introducing
are,
myself.
broski. Just say who you are.
Gang gang, my name is Thunderclaw Robinson. I'm here in the cut. We're gonna talk about some anime shit today.
Mm-hmm. And in this session we'll be talking about uh the Boo arc. Well, actually, we're talking about Dragon Ball Z, but
Mhm.
more specifically, I'm surprised that I'm actually doing this session the way he pitched it to me. We're actually talking about family in relation to the Boo arc. We all know like the Boo arc is probably one of the outside of like Goku going Super Saiyan 3, and I would say now Vegeta wasn't actually that hype. So Super Saiyan 3
Yeah,
and Majin Vegeta versus Goku. No one really talks about the Boo arc,
yeah. Aside
but
of those like iconic moments.
mm-hmm. So yeah, so talk to me about it. Like I remember you were telling me like how like family kind of relates to how you were able to relate to it.
For the past little bit, I've been kind of like I'm always reviewing Team Four Star and like how they characterize the characters from Dragon Ball Z, but
Mm-hmm.
also was
You mean
very
RDC World, right?
no
Team
Team
Four
Four
Star.
Star,
Team Four Star. Okay. I did.
the Bridgers.
Okay. Oh yeah. Right. Go
Yeah,
on. Go on.
and I started to realize that I could relate to this show on the level of like, well, starting from a martial artist, but also a warrior. Like I'm seeing them get into battles, and I realize, okay, why they're losing at this point because they just use the technique that takes a lot of energy and like the dynamics of a battle and how that played into the plot, right?
Mm.
So I often spend a lot of time thinking about like how things actually played out and like how an artist organizes their art, and I started to realize like well, first of all, like I've had the theory that like a Dragon Ball Z is based off the Moses story where like
I could see that.
the similarity of
Yeah.
Moses being sent in a basket, Goku narrowly destruct like avoiding
Surviving. Yeah.
yeah
Cause like
surviving the destruction of Planet Vegeta, shit like that, you know.
yeah. No, honestly, I was actually thinking about like when I was watching the Broly movie, I was just like the way Goku was being sent off by his dad, like the way they handled like Bardock sending Goku off to like Earth. I'm like, this is literally like him predicting like Planet Vegeta's gonna get blown up. There are people about to be wiped. I'm like, this is literally Superman,
Yeah.
and Superman's based off Moses. So I'm like, yeah, no, that 100% makes sense to me. Like the way he was sent off to another planet
Hmm.
to survive.
So
Yeah.
yeah, definitely. That's what I was thinking like a couple of years back, and now for the past little bit, I've been thinking about the Boo arc, and I started to see like there's this strange line of like family centered themes
Mm.
um throughout the arc, and you can kind of see that like this is the point in the story where Akira Toriyama got comfortable with writing what he like understanding the world that he had built, and
Comfortable in a good way or a bad way?
I, depends on how you feel about the arc,
Okay.
but
Okay.
I see it as just like there's this certain point where like you're creating a piece of art that has continuity,
Mm-hmm.
and then like you make all the groundwork for it, and then you're like, okay, I know what I'm doing now,
Mm-hmm.
and then like the couple projects after that just like are able to fit closer to a theme that you're going for. It may not be what everyone expects out of the series because of what they've seen before, but I feel like Toriyama had a very specific take on how he characterized the story that he was in charge of growing. You
Mm.
know, and by the Boo arc, you can see that like he's well established like all the narrative events that happened before to
Mm.
get all of these characters to the places that they are.
Mm.
Then he threw some chaos in there and then and said, "What's gonna happen?" But it was very interesting how he started off with like um, well, like introducing Goten first of all, but like
Mm-hmm. Who
Goten,
looks like Goku?
yeah, exactly. Um, but Goten training with his older brother
Mm-hmm.
at the start of the series. You
Mm-hmm.
know, we see Gohan grown up, and
Actually, making me think like even in terms of so like if you look at Trunks and Goten as an extension of Vegeta and Goku, Goku and Vegeta achieved Super Saiyan power individually, but Trunks and Goten achieved it together. So that kind of makes me think of what you were saying about in terms of family. Like they actually were able to do something much faster than their parents
mhm.
by working together.
Well, they had more support. You
That
know,
too.
Goku and Vegeta themselves like don't have their parents in their lives.
Mm.
Vegeta knew his father, but not for very long before
Bingo.
everyone got decimated. And Goku only always had like mentor figures.
Mhm.
Accidentally killed his own grandpa, and like he was with Master Roshi for short bits of time
Mhm.
while he was growing up. And
Mhm.
like I've been finding a similar journey of like you keep on finding masters as you go along.
That's true. That's true.
Well, like once you're able to realize how you need to train yourself,
Mhm.
you just go to a new person for a little bit of advice, tweaking, but you handle most of the work yourself. You know. Um, but these kids were able to get to Super Saiyan so early because there's also this theme of like intergenerational wealth, and I think that's
Okay.
just kind of what would happen naturally. Like they're born in these like well nurtured fighting families.
Very true.
The amount of physical activity would stunt their brain, not stunt, like spark their brain growth.
Mhm.
Not not only that, but like the Saiyan biology that's within them.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
it's kind of like
The S cells, which I recently learned
the
about, like
S cell.
the S cells. So basically, so from what I understood, I was reading this on the Dragon Ball wiki. So essentially, S cells, Super Saiyan cells.
Mhm.
So the more of a good person you are, essentially as a Saiyan, the more of the cells that you develop inside of you, to allow you to become a Super Saiyan. It's like I forgot what the cells are called in the Star Wars universe, the Anachlorians. I forgot what they're called, but basically, they determine how sensitive you are to the Force.
Oh, okay,
So
I
yeah,
see.
yeah. So like a typical like Jedi would be like 1 million or so, Anachlorians. I forgot what they're called.
Mhm.
And then Darth Vader, Anakin Skywalker is at like 2 billion.
Jesus Christ.
So that's why you don't fight him. That's why
Yeah,
like in the
yeah.
Star Wars game, like he folds you. Like you don't
Yeah.
have, you're not on his level. So that's why like Goku had an easier time going Super Saiyan than Vegeta, because
Yeah, yeah.
Vegeta had to learn how to be a good person. He was always strong, but he didn't learn how to be a good person.
Mhm.
As opposed to Goku, he was just able to do it like that, and then and then even like Trunks got it very quickly. Like technically, yeah, like Vegeta took the longest to go Super Saiyan.
Yeah, I think that's true.
Yeah, as opposed to like Gohan, Goku, Goten, Trunks. Is there others? Broly.
Yeah, yeah. Broly had it from well, like his power level was already
Yeah.
flaming.
True. And we're talking about Super Broly. We're not talking about the other one.
I guess it didn't really take much. Though.
Exactly. So Vegeta had to develop goodness.
Mhm.
So
I think that's a power. It speaks powerfully to the aspect of actual transformation because when you like take the word and you think about their actual biology changing state to transform into a Super Saiyan, it's like well it speaks to having some sort of autonomous control to your chemical balance inside you, but not only your chemical balance, but like your emotional chemical balance. You know? Something that allows you to be like, if you're not good, at least you're more positive.
Mhm.
You know, like I think what really like if Vegeta was a bad person but also didn't have had a horrible self esteem, never reached Super Saiyan because his pride was his key factor in actually getting him to that point. You know?
And in actual, as you're saying that, like, because the first Broly movie doesn't actually count anymore because like it's non-canon. If you take that into account, like you could probably speak better on this than me, but I'm like I can't think of a bad Super Saiyan. I don't think there is any. Because even in the Broly movie, Broly was misunderstood. Everyone kept saying he had a good heart. He was just angry. He didn't know how to control his emotions, but he wasn't bad. I don't even think there is a bad
What about
Super Saiyan.
Would Goku Zamasu Goku Black count?
Wasn't he possessed though?
Yeah, that whole situation is screwy.
Yeah, and like he's Super Saiyan Rouge. Does he actually go Super Saiyan or is he just goes
it's like
Rouge?
It's Super Saiyan God Blue, but because of Zamasu's energy and his aura and how it expresses itself, it kind of tints rose.
Okay.
That rosy pink.
Okay. Yeah, because I'm like I can't really think of many like. I think that's like the one kind of example, but otherwise
I think that's because he stole his body in a more efficient way than Ginyu did. And Goku
I completely forgot about that.
And Goku had already unlocked like so much forms, like so much accessibility to understanding how to change himself and transform. You know. And then, yeah. Where were we on the topic?
just talking about like just being good and how that kind of changes who you are.
Mm-hmm.
And like you are right, like in many ways, like some like the people that I connect with, people I know, like when you kind of change the way you think, you just can't go back to doing certain things.
Yeah.
Like there's been so many times like I'll see people like I'll know it's weird. I was thinking about doing it. I'm like I can tell if I can connect with some of the opposite sex romantically, just based off I can look at what they're eating.
Mm.
Just based off what you're eating already shows where your state of mind is at.
Yeah.
And then that in total shows like how you look at everything in life and how you like decide to make your decisions. Like if you're at work and you're buying Popeyes, I'm like, all right, I already know where your state of mind is. As opposed for myself, where like I've been doing my best to like improve myself every day, every month, just like you, right? Especially you as a martial artist, and actually no, you as an artist, because you're not even just a martial artist anymore. This guy's like a whole blown martial artist of so many forms. Like but the teacher where I'm not even sure if you're into science right now. If you're like,
Oh, yeah.
see, I'm just out here. This guy's like, you're like, what's his name? What's his name? Um, yeah, there we go. Like Leonardo da Vinci right now, my guy.
A little bit.
Jesus,
Yeah,
all forms of art.
Yeah. If my body can manage it, that's what I'm gonna do. But the Kaioken messed me up.
Facts.
Yeah, I'm taking a little breather right now.
I hear that. But yeah, like that's the thing. Like for me, like as I've been doing more, like I'm like I can't go back to doing certain things. That's kind of like transformed, made me like healthier, even in terms of like where I'm living, I'm moving. Cause it's like I need to be in a healthier state of mind to be able to do more. Cause the healthier you are, the more you can do, and the more good
Yo,
that you do.
you get it, fam. That's exactly the wave that I've been on, and that's why like this week I had to be like, yo, I'm not going to work because the rest is more important. Like I need to be able to get back to 100%
Mhm.
faster. So what sense does it make trying to work while I'm healing?
Mhm.
You know,
Mhm.
and like also just like staying clear of anything that would get you into a risky situation where you could be contaminated.
Mhm.
Contaminated.
Mhm.
But anything as light as the common cold, because
Mhm.
that can send you into like
Spiral.
needing to step into a health clinic where it's dangerous, where
Mm.
other people need access
Mhm.
to the health services that are there right
Especially with what's going on outside the
Exactly.
corona. Big
now.
facts.
So yeah, definitely taking it easy and preserving self. Oh my God, bro! Listen, you can't go Super Saiyan.
Talk to me. Talk to
You
me.
can't go Super Saiyan without learning how to preserve self. This is exactly why Goku and Gohan trained for like as soon as they like both got Super Saiyan and they
Mhm.
were able to sustain it, they're like,
Mhm.
all right, just stay in it and
Mhm.
sustain your lowest power level of like activity, but
Mhm.
like be activated,
Yeah.
like entirely
Make it
activated.
your norm.
Yeah.
And just to add further, like as you're making me think of that, ever since Goku went Super Saiyan, only when he went Super Saiyan got Super Saiyan, he never used Kaioken.
Oh yeah.
That just says everything. Like there's no point. And even as you're saying that, like are you said I think we discussed Hero Academy a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like you remember what Aizawa, Eraserhead said to Deku, right? Like there's no point of damaging yourself, saving someone, and then you have to get saved after. There's no point of that.
Yeah.
And even
you
like
have to be able to sustain yourself.
exactly. And even like I've been talking about that with my girl, like she's been working around the clock, and I'm like, it's great that you're doing that, for what we're trying to do, but like if you end up getting sick, all that money that you saved up, they have to use that
To get better.
exactly.
Yeah.
Then what was the point? So yeah, 100%. You got to preserve yourself, and like yeah, man's can't be doing Kaioken every day, bro.
Yeah, man. I was good. I was doing a good job though. I shouldn't have been using it anyway. But you know how it's like it's dangerous if you get over like times one. Like times one normal power is already dangerous. So
Yep.
times 2 and 3 is even more so.
Yep.
I was only ever always training in like 0.25.
Mhm.
So it's like low power output, but like I'm enhancing everything. And then some things happened. I had to max it out while in Super Saiyan.
Mhm.
Lost 2 weeks worth of energy in one go. So it was like the following week I needed to rest, but I was still doing minimal work. But if I had been resting the whole time, I wouldn't have I wouldn't have gotten sick again. I wouldn't have like had my muscles seize up after doing nothing. Like it wasn't even like I was active when my shit got injured. It just something happened, and it by the end of the day it was swollen.
Yep. Yep, I can relate to this. There's been so many times, like, in the conversation I've had with my girl about, like, picking up extra shifts and doing different things. Like, I think I told you I have, like, a full-time job now, so, like, she's like, maybe get an extra hustle beyond this, so we can, like, sustain our standard of living. And I was just like, based off my experience, I'm like, right now, like, with all the energy I have and all the different things I need to do, like this, and just personal stuff in my life, and along with just adapting to my workspace, if I was to add more to it, I know for a fact, I told her I know for a fact I'm gonna get sick. Like, I will just burn out very
Yeah.
quickly,
And then you
and
have
then
no defense for your immune system because the energy's gone.
bingo. Especially since, like, I'm still new to my job, right? So I'm still under probation. Now it's like, oh, you're sick within the first 3 months. Now it's like, what was the point, right? So it's like, and then like, and there's been many times I talk with my best friend about. I'm like, there's been so many times that she remembers, like, I'll burn myself out to the point where I'll get sick. Then I can't go to work. Then I'm not getting money. Then I'm useless to everybody because I have to be taken care of. So I'm like, no, like, there's no point of, like, as much as it's very honorable to do, like, the whole Ichigo and Goku, just muster through it. There's no point of, like,
Damaging yourself beyond repair.
bingo. Like, you saw what happened at the end of the first fight of Goku and Vegeta. Who was it? Who had to throw the spirit bomb? Wasn't it? Was it Gohan or is it
Krillin had
Krillin?
to throw it.
There you go, because Goku's body was done up.
It was like he was in a rough situation. Like, he had already maxed out Kaioken times 4.
Yeah.
So the body was giving him pure knockback. He probably felt like what I'm feeling in my leg everywhere.
Exactly. He couldn't
And
move,
then,
right?
And then Vegeta crushed his legs.
True. No, I thought he crushed his whole body. What happened again?
His lower half.
His lower half. Yeah. So he already couldn't move.
Yeah.
And then I forgot about that. Yeah. Then Vegeta crushed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hectic. So like I'm seeing that, like, whenever they did max themselves out, like a true warrior, it was only the most desperate situation. Like, Goku loves taking his time to warm up to a high level battle because, like, it kind of is the best fight when you can build up steam and you both have the stamina for it.
Now that you're saying that, it makes me think of the fight, the Super Broly fight. I'm going to say it a lot because I think that's my favorite anime movie. Like, probably that, and then The Boy and the Beast. I really connect with that movie. We can talk about that after, but, like, Dragon Ball Broly. Wow, I can't even say words. The Dragon Ball Super Broly movie was crazy, and, like, yeah, like, for both, like, when Goku was fighting him, when Vegeta was fighting him, it built up. It racked up. It didn't just go, oh, Super Saiyan God, Super Saiyan. Like, Goku, like, built up to that, and then like, well, also, like, in terms of Vegeta, he's always, like, fighting in the way of, like, overpowering you, as opposed to Goku, who, like, uses your power against you. But yeah, they built up to that, and that's essentially it, right? You want to build up to your peak performance, not like try to go all out. That's how you essentially.
That's how you train yourself.
Bingo. Like, even, like, if you look at the NBA, like, people are always like, you see, like, at the beginning of the pregame, everyone's just barely shooting, everyone's just stretching for like an hour. That's
Those are
it.
The best stretches.
Bingo. Like, you even have people stretching them. Like, so I'm like, you
Yeah.
can't even stretch yourself properly. Like, there has to be someone else just bending your leg all the way back to your face.
And you know what I do love the most about Goku? Every scene in Dragon Ball where he was about to fight, he would always stretch his legs.
I was just thinking of that. He's always
1,
like
2, and then he's ready. He's like, I need at least this much.
Right? Like, he'll just be hopping
kid.
around.
He was a kid and he knew this.
Oh, jeez. Oh yeah, true. You're heavy Dragon Ball. Like, I remember Dragon Ball. I remember Dragon Ball up to the Red Ribbon Army. I don't remember it really beyond that. But you're a real Dragon Ball, so you know.
Trust me, when I picked up the manga, it's like those images stuck with me. So it's like every time I seen Goku like do the side stretch this way, side.
Oh
stretch
yeah, with the leg. I know what you're talking
knew
about.
It was time.
Yeah.
You know? So yeah, that shit inspires me.
Facts. Yeah. What's it called? Yeah, Goku's always been stretching before a fight, so that's essentially it, right? There's no point, and I guess that's what you and I are kind of doing in the sense of just stretching up before we, like, kind of go all out. But and obviously without going Super Saiyan and not doing Kaioken or Kaioken Super Saiyan, because
you don't overextend. That's
bingo.
what you don't want to do, fam.
Exactly.
The key philosophy of Wing Chun is applicable to everything. The moment
I was saying Robert Downey Jr. talk about that. Go on.
The moment you start doing too much or more than you can muster for for your time, or like what you can handle for your situation,
Mhm.
you start to overextend, spread yourself thin, like
Mhm.
literally. You
Yep.
know, in Wing Chun that means there's an opening. If I over like if there's a certain form that you have to hold.
Mm.
If you start to warp that form out of like its parameters,
Mhm.
you're going to start creating openings,
Mhm.
or at least the openings that you had, which were blocks, will start to change. You
Mm.
know, so that's why knowing how to hold your form
Mhm.
and switch your form is
Mm.
so important. Transforming,
Mhm.
say 1, 2, 3.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's that process.
I can actually relate to that in the sense of make me think of two things. But one, so just purely based off competitiveness, if you will, I can relate to that in terms of me being a competitive gamer. I'm just
Mm.
like, yeah, I think like my earlier issue,
Mm.
my earlier issue before was I would overextend my attacks, and it created an opening. So I had to learn to like. There was a good post when it came to playing my character in Guilty Gear Kai. It was called the art of doing nothing.
Oh yes! Oh, I love that art.
Yeah, just
Um,
don't let them come to you. Let
mhm.
them come to you instead of like trying to make something happen. Just allow it, and then from allowing it, then because like even like I was I hadn't had a chance to play Guilty Gear in a hot minute, so I went Friday to play, and the guy I was playing the first, so it was the first to seven, so the first to win 7 matches, takes it, and the first 3 matches, I was like just a straight up assaulting him. I'm more of an aggressive player,
Yeah.
especially if I know like you're not confident. Actually, well, I try to adapt how I play because if I play someone that's hyper aggressive, there's no way you can beat someone that's hyper aggressive.
Yeah,
You're just gonna
yeah,
play to their style.
yeah,
So I try
yeah,
to take more of a defensive approach when it comes to them. But against people that are like less confident, I'm like I'm gonna just sweep you. I'm gonna just.
yeah. Yeah.
But like eventually, I noticed that like he was with punishing you, which essentially like whenever I would like
Oh,
swing at him,
yeah, yeah, and you missed it.
bingo. So eventually, I was just like, okay,
So he's a counter.
basically. So then eventually, I would just wait and I would just block. I'm like, as I'm blocking, there's only so much you can do on offense before you make a mistake. Eventually, you're
Mm.
gonna do something because you're trying to hit me. You're gonna overextend. You're gonna
Yeah,
slip
yeah. You're gonna
somewhere.
start swinging harder, or you're gonna
Bingo,
try and switch up your strategy.
bingo. So I'm just gonna wait for him to just do something. When that happened, I'd hit him. So I just
Mm.
stopped like swinging. I was just like, just come to me. And just coming from that mentality, I had to also learn how like the literally the art of doing nothing in the sense of like there's nothing wrong just doing anything and just allowing things to happen rather than being afraid of blocking or being afraid of being attacked. Like just allow it, allow or as, yeah, essentially like what Bruce said, be water.
Yeah, you adapt to what is coming to your way, like changing form. You
Bingo,
know,
bingo, bingo.
I love that because it does speak to preserving yourself,
Mhm.
but also changing form. And like I learned this art
Mhm.
as well through King Boomy. Avatar: Last Airbender.
King Boomy. Refresh my memory.
And after being awoken, he was just like, I had a friend like 100 years ago. I don't know where he might be, but he lived in the city of Omashu. Let me see. Like, let me. They're traveling through Omashu anyway,
Okay.
so he's like, let me go check how things are going there, right?
Okay.
Shit's a mess. Fire Nation's taken over,
Okay.
and he eventually he meets the king, and the king throws all these challenges at him, which are actually riddles, and he's like stupid strong earthbender. But it turns out that it was his best friend Boomy all along. He just
I
survived
vaguely remember. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
he
yeah, yeah.
survived the 100 years
Yeah,
as
yeah, yeah.
just a healthy old man,
Yeah,
strongest
I
one of the
vaguely remember
strongest
that.
earthbenders at the time.
I vaguely remember that actually. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And then afterwards, later in the series, um, Aang was back in Omashu after the Fire Nation had taken over, and when he found Bumi, he was taken prisoner, right?
Mm.
He helped him out,
Mhm.
and Bumi was just like, "What are you doing?" Uh, and Aang was just like, "Yo, well, why aren't you like fighting for
Your freedom. Yeah.
your freedom? Like, you have the power yourself to break yourself out. You know
Mhm.
how stupid strong you are. You
Mhm.
can earthbend inside your prison
Mhm.
containment. Why aren't you doing anything?" And Boomy just said, "It's not the right time. There's three there's like a bunch of actions that you can take,
Mhm.
but in martial arts there's three main ones: positive, negative, so aggressive,
Mhm.
defensive, and um, and neutral, doing nothing,
The art of doing
and
nothing.
just wait for a better time to attack.
Mhm.
And as I was started to practice that in my actual sparring, I would realize if I'm sitting back in a defensive form,
Mhm.
waiting for you to attack,
Mhm.
if my stance is able to get you to think, or my actions from beforehand are able to get you to think, I need to take my time in how I approach, or say we just had an exchange and you need a second to breathe,
Mhm.
it allows me to be like, oh, you're tired.
Mhm.
And even if depending on if I have gas or not, I can attack or rest and wait and see
Mhm.
what you'll do next.
Mhm.
But but from being able to observe that, I know, okay, I have to catch my breath before you gain steam again.
Mhm.
That's a better situation for me.
Mhm.
But it comes with that type of observation, or
Mhm.
just like from the beginning of the battle, um, seeing how they're going to approach you and
Mhm.
be defensive, not trying to fight back. But the
Mhm.
best thing, especially for me
Mhm.
and my style of fighting, is like you just want to get away as quick as possible because everyone's legs is way longer than yours. They can
Mm.
reach your head if they want to.
Mhm.
So my style of evasion has to be like quick, quick, quick. If I'm short and heavy, you
Mm.
know. Yeah, I love the art of doing nothing.
Yeah, that's essentially it. And as we were talking about, like extending yourself too far. That's the reason why, like, for me, in terms of things I've been handling, like I said, some of the because I used to work in one community center, but then I switched. So I still work with some of those kids personally, like off shift. Like I took them to see, the Hero Academy. Was it called Heroes Rising?
Oh
I
yeah,
took them to go
yeah.
see that. So like there's a good couple kids I work with that, I'm not paid for because like I just see like how for me, if I had that, it would have helped me develop to be like twice to where I am today. So for me, that's why I try to give back in that manner. So there's a lot of things I have to manage in terms of my family. Which we'll get into things with my girl. Like I said, my work and the things I have planned for that. So for me, that's the reason why like as much as like the thing my girl said was like take a second job. I'm like I've even gone back to competitively gaming consistently and working out. Like those are two things I need for myself. Like I'm not even
Absolutely.
like I'm eating healthy. I'm doing things. I'm having like my structure to get things done and everything. And I'm able to get things done. But I haven't incorporated working out again and gaming consistently. Those are like mental health, physical health. If I haven't had that in my schedule yet, because if I put it in, I'm gonna stretch myself too thin. How am I gonna take out another job?
Yeah, you have to be able to regulate yourself as well as take on more work. So
Bingo.
if you don't have time for the self care shit, why are you getting more work?
Bingo.
That makes so much sense.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I'm like, I haven't even like, I'm not even working out because I'm like, I know like right now, if I could try, getting back into waking up at 6 a.m., going to work out, coming back, maybe editing. But I'm like, I'm not even consistently every Friday because like right now, like I have shared internet where I'm staying, so the idea is to move. So I actually have actual my own internet, so I can actually play online.
Yeah.
So right now, when I play Guilty Gear, the only time I get to play is like 2 hours out of a 7-day week. I get 2 hours to play Guilty Gear on a Friday night. If I can't even commit to those 2 hours, why am I committing to something on a Saturday or a Sunday? So I have like one day off.
True.
It's not gonna work.
Yeah, it's not worth it.
Yeah. And I know exactly I'm gonna end up like Goku at the end of like the Vegeta fight. Like, what's the point of that?
Nah, you don't need that.
Bingo. So yeah, those are the two main points I would definitely say in terms of extending yourself. Just just art of nothing. Allow things to happen. Things will take. Yeah, like allow things to happen. Things will take shape. Like I know, like I have to push myself to actually go gaming like how I did Friday, but like eventually it'll become easier instead of trying to force it. Like the time will come where I can go back to working out. I want to, but if I do it now, I'm doing it for the wrong reasons. In the sense of like, oh, it's because of how like body insecurity, like how I'm looking, as opposed to like how I was looking before,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But it's like if you're going to work out because you're insecure of how you feel, you're working out for the wrong reasons.
Yeah, yeah.
You want to work out for the right reasons, which is really just to take care of yourself and to be active. So, but yeah. So talk to me about family, broski.
Jeez. Family has become a more and more important element in my life as it's gone on, but I've started to realize, not even started to realize, I knew from a kid that I had chosen family is super, super important.
Mhm.
the people that you choose to trust, in
I
which is
love
like
that. Talk to me about yes. Talk to me about chosen family. Talk to
is
me about
like
that.
it's not really a true judge of your character because
Mhm.
you often sometimes won't know really who to trust. It depends on your observation skills.
Mhm. Mhm.
You see your relationship for what it is right now and be like, okay, I'm assessing this or I'm getting this feeling from it. These are my benefits. These are my cons. Where am I with this person? And then you just like you delegate that kind of however much energy you need
Mhm.
towards that relationship. We do it naturally, but that's just like a breakdown of how we
Mhm.
actually go about navigating our social lives.
Mhm.
Um, with one of the surprising things is like Goku always knew that Vegeta would come around.
That's true. Cause I remember what's his name? The man with the sword. He was about to kill
Yajirobe.
Yajirobe.
It was
Of course you know.
Yajirobe's sword, but
He was
Krillin was holding it.
and he was about to kill Vegeta, and
Yeah,
Goku was like, nah.
yeah.
Actually, yeah. Go. But yeah, actually, to put it for actually, ironically, because this is interesting as you're saying it, it getting my mind going
Mhm.
because that's the thing about the Frieza fight. That was the one time Goku had to like actually like put someone down.
Mhm.
But Frieza also eventually came around too. The battle for Universe 7.
Uh, yeah. And he keeps on trying and testing these people, and I guess
Yep,
it's because he knows that there's like no real border between life and death in this
basically.
universe.
And I think Frieza at this point is not even like a villain. Frieza at this point is just an anti-hero. Frieza is what Vegeta used to be.
True.
Cause like he's always like, oh yeah, I'll come back for you, just the same way as Vegeta say, I'm gonna fight you, Goku. Eventually, just like you're not a villain anymore. Like the whole the Broly fight, it was just Frieza getting slapped.
Yeah,
So
for an hour he held that.
that was I. No, actually, Frieza deserved that because Frieza also killed his dad and set up the whole situation. I'm like, no, you did
That's
all
karma.
for 2 centimeters.
Instant karma.
Yep. What was it? Is it 2 centimeters? 2 inches?
Uh, something like that. He
I
just
think.
wanted to be a few inches
Yeah, it
taller.
was 2 inches. It was 2 inches. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because 2 centimeters is nothing. So yeah, 2 inches. But yeah, like yeah, Goku is always, giving people the benefit of the doubt. You're actually right about that.
And
Um.
it has definitely been consistently his weakness because like Whis is always telling him don't let your guard down.
Mhm.
Although the way how it was displayed in the Broly movie didn't really make a lot of sense. The way how Whis was teaching it
Mhm.
and the way how yeah the Resurrection movie played out. It was a sick movie, but
Mhm.
like in terms of how it described that martial arts philosophy,
Mhm.
like keeping your guard up was more for setting up Ultra Instinct than actually like teaching something. You know.
Interesting. I didn't even know, but I haven't actively watched Super. I know of what happens in Super, but I haven't actively watched Super. So that's interesting.
But even from like way back when,
Mhm.
Goku was always like he'll knock someone out and be like, all right, you've learned your lesson, right? Not
Mhm.
knowing that people are like a lot more gruesome than you would think, you know. And oftentimes he wasn't.
Frieza tried to attack Goku when he was backwards from like how many times?
Yeah, and oftentimes he wasn't dealing with just humans. You know,
Mhm.
and humans have a limit. But all the
Mhm.
people he was fighting have a different mind state. So it's like if they get bought up, they're gonna bought up you back once they have the energy.
Mhm.
But he kept on. I guess it comes from his innocent mind state
Mhm.
and like that naivety kind of grew up with him. But
But he wouldn't be who he is because I can kind of relate to that in terms of like my recent experiences at work, where like I've learned I'm like there is like as much as it can be problematic to be kind of whimsical and idealistic like Goku and the other characters I really resonate with, but at the same time like it is problematic because you can get attacked by you can get blindsided and that's happened to me in like my actual life. Some things are very recent that I've gone through, but at the same time I also know if I wasn't like that and I was much more, I guess you could say, pragmatic, like let's say a Vegeta in life, I wouldn't be able to get the things I've gotten in life. Like it is
yeah,
problematic, but the amount of comrades Goku has developed, despite being attacked from the back, I think is overall worth it because he wouldn't have built those relationships that he had, like Frieza helping him in against Jiren and for Universe 7. It wouldn't have happened if Goku wasn't who he is.
yeah. Well, like yeah, if he had completely annihilated him the first time,
Mhm.
like um, then there's no chance for redemption or
Bingo.
a second battle with him.
Bingo.
He wouldn't have even been able to call him back from the void to ask him, hey, fight on
Mhm.
this tournament with me. Because
Mhm.
one, he probably wouldn't have his body
Mhm.
because he wasn't able to do as much bad shit after he died,
Mhm.
or after Namek.
Mhm.
But also, sorry, losing train of thought.
That's all good. That's all good.
Also, even if he found him deep in the depths of hell, he probably would have refused him.
Mhm.
You know?
Yep. That's facts. That's facts. Um. So yeah. For me, I've had a lot of conversations. The only one that comes to mind right now is really with my girl, but like I've obviously had this conversation many times with other people.
Mm.
For me, family, the concept of family is a lot more fluid. Like it's not just people who share blood with me. Like I don't really care if you share blood with me. To be honest with you, like to me, family is you based off your actions.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So like you could share the same blood as me, but like unless you're actually like where like makes me think of music video of Drake and Future, you know, where you at. Like unless you were actually there for me, who are you? Like you can't talk to me.
You know?
Yeah.
I think I've been seeing that in a bunch of my relationships, or like choosing how I'm navigating who I'm talking to now. Because it's like, if you say you want to work together, but then when I need you, you're not available, and it's like, okay, maybe it wasn't meant to be, or the time's not right now.
Mhm.
But either way, I don't need to keep focusing on that, or else it will be overextended. So
Mhm.
just focus on me.
Bingo. Yeah. Yeah, that's I can very much relate to that in terms of like even you know the person I was trying to reach out to get here too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I was just like, bro, like I'm trying to reach you. Like I called you. I called the sender you worked at. I send you text messages on like Instagram, WhatsApp. I didn't do WhatsApp actually, but like Instagram, Twitter, your text, a phone call. Like
Doing after him, and
yeah,
like,
just like you're not responding. Like I understand he's going through something, or he went through something, but even then, like even before that, it takes forever to get in contact with you. It's exhausting.
Yeah,
It's exhausting really chasing people. So yeah, for me like yeah, like sometimes like you know I'll have conversations with my girl or even like my best friend, and you know we're talking about oh like should this person be in your life, and I'm like they're going through something and they've said certain things that kind of transgress certain boundaries between me and them. But I'm like, when my dad was in the hospital, right? Despite you and I our various disagreements ever since I moved from here, he knows who he is. I'm not gonna drop names, but he knows who he is. He's still my guy. But like, despite our various disagreements, ever since I moved here to Toronto, like I also remember that this is the same guy that when he found out my dad was in the hospital and we're in the hospital, and he called me and asked me if we ate. He came straight from work, so basically he's basically coming from the equivalent of like you know where you're staying to where I live, like what in Danforth, and he in terms of Montreal, and then he brought food. He went to Pizza Pizza and brought food for me, my sister, my mom, and my brother-in-law. Came right from work and brought food for us because he knew that we didn't eat. That's my dogs right there.
Yeah.
Right? Or even like in Montreal, like we're also getting ready to move. There's this thing called a car shelter. So basically, it's basically like a mini house. They prevent because you know we get crazy snow in Montreal.
Yeah.
So there's actually like you're not allowed to have these in Toronto, but like I've seen low key a couple people here and there actually who have them. But I'm like, you get a ticket, but that's okay. I'm gonna allow you. I'm not gonna say anything. But like, my boy, because if you don't get them down by April something, you get a fat ticket. Yeah, because you know it's summer, like because it's you have it there to block snow, but once there's not snow there, it's on the driveway, right? It's you're blocking the vision to the road.
Okay, I see.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's like a garage on your driveway, so it's like you can't see. Like when you're making a turn, there's a whole house blocking.
Yeah, there's just like extended property.
Exactly. So like I remember two of my boys, like you know they came over and they helped me take down the whole car shelter so we wouldn't get a fine. Like those are my people. Like if they say something like in terms of how I'm moving, I'm gonna listen to them. But in terms of like some of the family that I have, like they'll say I'm doing something, like I'm not gonna listen to you. We're like I'll take it to some level of consideration, but ultimately like your reason, your voice doesn't matter because where were you?
Yeah.
How are you involved? And also, how have you taken the time to get to know me as a person? Because that's a big thing for me. Because I have a lot of people who misunderstand me, which is why I relate with a lot of characters like Superman and Captain America, because like they're like outside, they're like with people, but they're always on the outside. So it's kind of related to that. So when you take the time to understand me as a person, like that takes time, and so that's good enough for me. So we're, as far as I'm concerned, we're family.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're not that, and you didn't do that, and you're not there for me,
It doesn't really matter.
yeah, like we're family by blood.
Yeah,
But
that's a connection, and that could be there for when it's important.
mhm,
But like even like me myself right now, I'm noticing that like yo, if I had to live on my own and did all the shit that I do,
mhm,
I something very bad would happen when I come home one of these nights. You know, I was
like
thinking,
overextending yourself specifically.
yeah, like in terms of just like my lifestyle is right now go to work, after work train at work because it's kind of like I teach the kids classes, adult classes at the end, and I can just like train during that class. If I have
You're
the
doing
time,
what you love. That's
if
dope.
I have the time or energy, I'll go to the gym after because I'm trying to bulk up.
Mhm,
And like I was keeping this really good routine.
mhm.
Some things happen, a lot of art shit happened. For the better, it's just
Mhm.
like it made me lose my routine of being fit and maintaining myself.
Yo, I can fully relate to it. When I started my job, I worked 12 to 8.
Mm.
Doing that, just it took me. Maybe you can speak on this further. It took me a good 2 weeks, 2 weeks to get adapted to my new work
Ah.
cycle. First week I struggled. Second week I was like, okay, I kind of know. Okay, it takes me X amount of time to do this, to get to work, to do that, to do this. But the
Mm.
first week was a huge struggle, and actually, like, it was very frustrating.
Well,
Honestly,
it's
just dealing.
it's a shift, and when thing changes, the whole world view changes overall.
Okay. Like, what do you mean by like the whole view? Like, what do you?
Well, like it's kind of like going into the project that I unveiled the other day is like territory because it was called World of Change,
Okay, I remember seeing that on Instagram, but I didn't get a chance to look at it thoroughly. Go on.
and I've just
Talk to
been
me.
like I've been paying attention to this concept of like the difference between 0 and 1.
Okay.
You know, like it's
Okay.
not necessarily a big difference, but in a universe of
Mhm.
nothing, the difference between 0 and 1 was enough to give us billions of planets and stars and matter that actually exists.
Mhm.
You know, um, when one thing happens, another thing will happen
Mhm.
because we live in a four-dimensional universe.
Mm.
We have time in this spatial dimension, so it's running forward, at least from how we understand it, right?
Mhm.
It's running forward, so that means something is progressing all the time. Our
Mhm.
cells are dying,
Mhm.
things are being made and born, you
Mhm.
know? Um,
Kind of go back to the art of doing nothing. You're allowing something to happen because something will happen.
mhm.
You're just allowing it. Instead of making it happen, you're allowing it
You
to
let
just
it come
happen.
to you. Yeah, save up your energy.
Law of abundance, actually.
Yeah, actually.
Yeah.
It also has to deal with like entropy and chaos because like those things will always be there, like things trying to grind to a halt of nothing,
Mhm.
and the fact that like the universe operates under the principle of uncertainty. Like
Mhm.
there's always one thing that we won't know for sure. That's why we can't like unify the laws of physics until like understanding the universe completely. But we're getting closer and closer.
100%.
Yeah. Shit, where was I?
Well, we were talking about the difference between 1 and 0 and how that
Yeah.
leads into something.
Uh, in my project, I used a lot of butterfly imagery
Okay.
because the butterfly itself embodies metamorphosis, change, transformation, migration, and like change over generations, like
Mhm.
those things, you know.
Mhm.
So I kind of use them to visualize and represent children,
Okay.
kind of in the light
They
that like
evolve. Then they grow real fast, faster than you and I do. So.
exactly, and just like insects are everywhere, and
Mhm.
like as time progresses, especially with this year, the main thing of change or how it applies to this world or like humanity, anything that's alive that we know of is like
Mm.
the eldest of any population will die because, well, you die when you're older,
Mhm.
and there's always going to be more kids so long as society's still functioning and
Mhm.
people are having babies. You know,
Mhm.
and that's kind of like the the progression of, well, it's almost like a universal law for like how we're living right now. There's always going to be some sort of progression. Something's going to switch and something else will change.
Mhm.
You know, we're all experiencing and going through great changes.
Mhm.
And one of the main piece that I made is called Worldview One,
Okay.
which is I don't have an example for you, but
It's
basically
all good, bro.
it's the globe
Mhm.
painted like just white outline on a black canvas.
Okay.
So you can see just like the outline of the earth and the continents just sitting in the darkness. It's very
Mhm.
simple. And
Mhm.
a butterfly that's kind of like pinned right over the Great Lakes area. So I
Mm.
was trying to say like this is where Toronto is. I am here,
Mm.
but from here I can see the entire world.
Mm.
You know. And then I made a second piece
Oh, you're
called,
making me think of Fullmetal Alchemist right now.
bro. It comes full circle, fam. Equivalent exchange.
Yep.
It, it it's real.
Mhm.
Like when you're able to understand where energy and also mass is coming from and where it goes and trace it back and forward in
Mhm.
time, you're able to understand how much energy I'm going to need for tomorrow or next
Mhm.
week. Why am I so injured right now?
Mhm.
All everything comes into perspective
Mhm.
once you're able to see the full circle of things.
Mhm.
Shit, I think I should do alchemy.
Don't kill me. This guy says.
Well, I have been transmuting energies. I
Mm.
haven't done any of the clasps
I
hands, changes
was waiting for you to do it.
yeah. Um, but yeah, the circle does represent like an entire revolution,
Mhm.
a turn, but also like I've had this very this mind state set in like I kind of want all the kids to just take over the world right now.
I've been actually moving in that direction in the sense of the program developing. We can definitely talk about it more like after we're done recording. But I want to create something where kids are allowed to like develop and discover who they are. Like for instance, maybe you can speak on it. 'Cause I feel like the people I connect with best are the people who didn't do good in school or like the problem kids. But you don't like school doesn't teach you how you learn.
Yeah, not exactly.
Like
I, I
you're supposed to like the one thing school's supposed to do is teach you how you learn. Like if you don't know how you learn, you like life is gonna be a struggle.
hmm Yeah, because after school, whether you finish it or not, or keep going,
Mhm.
there's this process. You have to continue growing and
Mhm.
learning. And if you ever think that you've learned enough, well, you've already started failing. You
Mhm.
know, you have to stay attentive and observing.
Mhm.
Um, sorry, what exactly did you want me to speak on, like with the school system?
Oh no, I've just been so in terms of like what I'm doing, like I actually want to create something where kids are actually allowed to develop their interests and who they are and where they want to be in life, as opposed to like being told. Like even one of the things that I want to do is actually put an aptitude test to help them learn how they learn. Like just even from the get go, before we even get into like whether you want to be an artist that does commissions, or whether you want to be an engineer, or whether you want to be like a sound engineer, or whether you want to be like a teacher or a makeup artist. How do you learn? Who are you?
Yeah, yeah, like looking inwards, finding
Like
your center.
forget all that other stuff. Like being, who are you? Why
Mm-hmm.
does it? If you want to be a makeup artist, why does that matter? Why this? Why do you enjoy this? How do you learn? What matters to you? Where do you want to be? Why do you want to be there?
Because it's when you're able to understand and fight for, like, going for your dreams, you
Mhm.
are able to follow your path.
Mhm.
Because even if the first journey doesn't even work out, it'll
Mhm.
lead you to the second one so long
Mhm.
as you keep going.
Mhm.
You know?
Yo, honestly, like if I look back on my past, like yo, bro, like if I didn't go through the things I went through or did the things I did, I wouldn't be where I am today.
Exactly.
Like even in terms of like before I was frustrated that I couldn't find a full time job. Once I got this job, I was like, I get it now. I have it now because of all these experiences. I'm doing this.
Yeah,
and I'm
yeah.
also thinking the way I am because if I didn't, because with all the experience I had, I think differently from everybody else, and the
True.
different things about being on the, and that's what kind of helped me. Like as much as it quote unquote sucks being on the outside, being on the outside helps me look at things differently. I'm like okay, but like, because whenever you're caught up in something, eventually you just think the same way.
Yeah.
But like because I've never been anywhere for very long, I'm always like, oh yeah, let me just like yeah, like for instance, like in our office, like I just I throw trash out all the time,
Mm.
because like in community centers always like hoarding of stuff.
Oh jeez.
So like I just throw stuff out. I'm like, okay, because like, and it's even the same thing in the house. Like oh, we'll just keep this here because we might we used it like 2 weeks. We might use it like 2 weeks from now.
Hmm.
If 3 weeks go by, you haven't used it, dash it.
It's
Dash,
dead. It's
go get
dead
rid of
and
it.
dying, and it needs to go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like there's no point of keeping it there. So like that's the thing. Like there was one point at work where we had to like clean our office. Like all the office had to clean themselves off because someone important was coming. I can't say who.
Hmm.
And like they looked at our office, they're like, "Oh, you guys are good." I'm like, "Yeah," because I regularly just dash it
That's
out.
it.
Like
Yeah.
there was even like a toy for like coding or whatever, like teach kids how to code. It was there for like a good 2 or 3 weeks. At this point, the box was ripped up and stuff. I'm like recycling.
Yeah. Mhm. That's what it has to be.
Yeah.
That's what inspired a lot of the changes for like how I view my house and my home, and
Mm.
it kind of does help that like my my current job teaching at the Taekwondo gym, like Master Kim treats me like I'm family.
Mm.
So in doing that, I kind of have to operate with the understanding that this is my school as well.
Mm.
You know, my one job is my job is pretty simple.
Mm.
Teaching the kids, just like literally, if you understand the way how martial arts flows, as soon as you have the black belt,
Mm.
you could just be in the space and kids ask you for help, and it's like, well, I have all these forms in my head,
Mm.
and I know how they're supposed to be wielded properly. Let me
Mm.
assist.
Mm.
You know, it doesn't come off as like it's really not too hard to teach until you've gained your confidence. You
Mhm.
know, but the confidence trait and skill it still does require a lot of work. Um,
Can you talk to me about like how you said Master Kim?
yeah.
How does he treat you as family, if I may ask?
For me, it's like he's kind of
Like, what does family mean to you, essentially? Like,
he's been kind of looking out for me from the start, because like I wanted to get into martial arts because I was in it when I was younger, but like
mm.
my family couldn't afford it at the time, you know.
Mm.
Like I was always following, like grew up on Dragon Ball Z and History's Strongest
That
Disciple
explains why
Kyoji, and
that kind of like drew you into anime in a sense, because anime is always using martial arts to some sense, let alone Dragon Ball, which is like the martial arts soul.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, you know it, the Dragon Soul.
Jeez. Mhm.
Found out that was a technique, but that's a
Okay, we're
topic
gonna
for
have to talk
another
about
time.
that then.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, go on.
it also might be a project that I'm working on, but
Jeez. Okay, we can sneak peeks.
what's it called? Yeah. So yeah, I was looking for a martial arts teacher, and at the time I was looking for my old martial arts teacher, which was like his school was where Master Kim's school is now.
Mhm.
I met Master Kim, and he's like, "I'm gonna give you a free trial, see how you like it." At the time, he was giving me a free trial for a month, so I was
Mhm.
like super blessed. He was talking to me. He's like, "Listen, I know you're a school kid and you have no money. So let me bring down the cost like super low, and
Jeez.
depending on your attendance
Mhm.
and your dedication to the craft,
Mhm.
it'll go up and down.
Mhm.
You know, like this is the deal that I have set out for you." So oftentimes,
Wow.
I was still.
So you're the you're the determining factor, how you decide to commit to it, essentially.
It's my responsibility.
Yeah.
I think that's the main.
Spider-Man. Go on. You said
That's-
responsibility.
Well, like that's it. Like yo, martial arts is a power. It's a skill. You have to know how to use your skill responsibly. It doesn't matter what skill.
I would
it
even
is.
go out to say art,
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
martial arts is art. Like how you use your art, like it has an impact. Like we always talk about how artists need to like take ownership of like the what they do. Even like the makeup artists and the quote unquote makeup artists on Instagram. You know who I'm referring to? The one with the back shots, pictures.
I'm dead.
Huh?
I'm dead.
Like you have to take ownership of like your art, and even yeah, Instagram is like whether however you want to see it is art. It's a picture.
Mm.
It's art. So take ownership of your art. But yeah, go on. Like yeah, in terms of like him, um, letting you
Like,
determine the fee essentially.
yeah. He. So that like the fee went really high a couple of times because well, I was also trying to balance work and high school. So
That's tough.
So the luckily like my job was I had an opportunity to like be the bass singer in a choir, and it paid pretty well. So like all the arts jobs I was getting early on was like paying really well, but it's like $13 an hour when like the minimum was 10,
Mm-hmm.
but I only get to work 2 hours a week or 1 hour a week. You know, some shit like that. So the paycheck is just like it's alright, but it's not like like on the jobs where I was getting paid $25 an hour. It's like okay, but I still have to consider it's 2 hours or 4 hours a week I'm
Yep.
working. You know?
Yep. Yep.
And sometimes it would be cut short just because like how programs work or holidays and stuff like that. But I always managed to work out how much money I'm making and figure out what was my budget. You know?
Mm.
And now I have a bit more capital, so I'm like really trying to reorganize my life.
Mm. Hear that? Hear that? Yeah, I've had various mentors in my life who actually like helped me discover myself. I remember there's one mentor I had. It was when my sister was working, and like at that point, my sister more so. I don't think my parents were frustrated with me. At least not my dad. Maybe my sister. Sorry, maybe my mom, but more so my sister in terms of just like actually finding ways to connect with me. It's only happened like 4 years ago when my nephew was born.
Mm-hmm.
Like we actually became far closer than we ever were living in the same house in Montreal.
True.
And I remember she had me meet this one guy. I won't drop his name, but he knows who he is if he ever listens to this.
Jeez.
And I remember when I first met him, this is how I know when I have a good connection with someone, when they meet me and they're able to make an accurate assessment of who I am. Because most people don't do that. Most people, because I'm like, in many ways, like I didn't realize it until like Rondell said it. I didn't take it seriously until Rondell said it, which was I don't talk very much about myself. And like I was like, really? I was like, I think I talk about myself a lot. And it's like, if Rondell's saying that, you don't.
Yeah.
Like he has a very accurate assessment. So
Sure.
yeah, that guy, he was just like, you are stubborn. I forgot all the stuff he said. You're stubborn, but at the same time, you're very visually insightful. You're extremely observant, and you have to do things at your own pace. And there was even another thing he said, which you'll laugh at, because it's what's going on right now. He said, at some point in your life, you're going to talk about the way you look at anime and video games and comic books. You're going to create your own, he said, TV show, which is actually what I want to move into. You're going to move in a direction of actually talking about this stuff with people and how it relates to your life. The way you look at anime and video games and how you always have an observant perspective when it comes to your own life experiences, you're going to be using that to talk to create content. And I was just like, nah.
I predicted your whole future.
Crazy, right? This was 4 or 5 years ago, bro.
Damn.
No, 5 or 6 years ago. And I was like, okay.
You believed the vision at the time, but it was the prophecy.
Facts. Like he like every time I've met someone that's had a good, even like my girl, like she, like one of the things, like, so I'll talk about like how we met. Like one of the things that like what made me take her differently was, I can't remember what we were talking about when we first started connecting, and she was just like, you're very open, but you're also very reserved. And I was just like, there's very few people that notice that about me. So I'm like, oh,
you noticed.
she's different.
Nah.
And I also learned, don't try to finesse her.
Yeah, no.
No, she's the type of chick that like if she sees you trying to finesse her, be like, okay, bye, deuces. So
call it early and it's like cut off. The energy's not working.
Yeah, exactly. So I was just like, don't try to finesse. Don't try to finesse. Be honest. So that's actually been the motto in terms of the relationship I've been in now. Like just with her, just to be as honest as possible, which is very uncomfortable because like to be vulnerable.
Very important.
It is, right? The thing like also instills that mentality. Something that my best friend has said, like if you have to lie about something to sustain a relationship, then what is that relationship in the first place?
What is it based on? What's the foundation?
Exactly. If that can break it, then lying, then it's not real. You shouldn't have to lie to maintain something.
So either not the time or it's not it.
Bingo. Bingo. So yeah, so like the people I've definitely connected with are people who made accurate assessments of me, and those are like he's been like a father figure to me in terms of like just having such an accurate assessment to me. And there's been a good few others that like have given me a lot of support in terms of like how I need to move, how I should move, and where I'm headed, how I want to get to where I want to get to. So
Hmm.
that's always been an important thing for me. So
Yeah, people who treat you like that are important. And like one of the things that I remembered the other day recently, like one of my oldest memories of Master Kim was like during that time he
mhm
would often ask, he still doesn't, but he
mhm
often asks children to come out and like volunteer their time to like help doing flyer work in the neighborhoods. You know,
mm
often he kind of bargains it. He's like, you know what, I'll give you this type of training if you're able to help me this day, or I'll be able to bring down your price for a little bit if you're able to help me this day. For me, it's like now I'm getting paid if I do it. You know.
essentially yeah.
But when I was just starting up, he was just like, "Hey, can you help me?" Like, basically, the plan is like, well, like every spring or so, or winter, or a certain amount of time, there's going to be new people in the neighborhoods nearby.
mhm
So you kind of have to do the groundwork of like advertising firsthand, you know.
mhm
And one of the first times I went with him to do it, the snow was up to our knees.
I heard Stone here was like that before in Toronto. Yeah, go on.
Yeah. So that time, I think we hit a few streets because he had the car,
mhm
and we only did a few houses. But there was one time I think like we were done. We ran out of flyers,
mhm
and we had reached the end of the street.
mhm
The car's all the way up the road. Snows at our knees. He was like, "Fucking race me, bro." I was like, "Okay." And we just started sprinting,
mhm
and you see his son in the car. He's just like, yeah, good times. It's like, yo, that's friendship right there.
mhm
You know, from all
That's
the way
family.
back.
mhm
You know, and the fact that today I crashed on Friday, so I was supposed to be at work, but I told them from early on, listen, I'm sick,
mhm
and my body was already exhausted. That's
mhm
why like you noticed me losing focus a couple of days before because I was carrying all of this.
mhm
Now I've crashed.
mhm
I think it's better I rest for now
mhm
and then see if I can message you in a little bit. And I called him back today and I was like, sir, like all of this has led to me pulling my hamstring. I need to
You
take
strain
this
yourself. You
right
push
now.
yourself to your limit essentially.
Yeah,
mhm
and it's like the responsible part of me is like, yo, I can wake up tomorrow morning and keep him updated. You
mhm
know,
mhm
if there's any way he can help, or if there's anything that I can do, I can let him know,
mhm
or he can let me know. You
mhm
know, it's like I still want to go to work and be with the kids. You
mhm
know, I don't want to have to sit at home all the time
mhm
just because I'm mega injured.
mhm
You know, I'm not trying to use it to skip out on training
mhm
or
I can
teaching.
actually speak on that. People go on. Yeah, yeah.
And right now, I really need to like put my foot down and be like, okay, I need the long sit down and preserve all of my energy because I'm not even sure what's going on right now.
mhm
But also, if I wanted to go to a doctor, I need the energy to get out the house.
Yep. Yep, and I can see you've been going through the struggle.
Yeah,
I seen that. There was actually a point. So when I first started Black Nurse Sock, I was really trying to like really push the brand,
Mhm.
and not for the right reasons. I would definitely say, if I had to be very honest with myself, when we first connected about this stuff, I didn't push it for the right reasons. I
Mhm.
was pushing it to kind of get some more from like my competitive mentality. I'm a competitor. Like every
Mhm.
time I'm doing something, I'm like, yo, like we're gonna be the best.
Just step in the game up.
Exactly. So like for me, I was pushing not in the sense of I was pushing in the sense of because when it comes to this, like having a competitive mindset is not a bad thing because where how Kobe, rest in peace, got to where he got to, and MJ, LeBron, so on and so forth. But at the same time, it's also important to like in this not to compete but to collaborate.
Mhm.
Hence is what we're doing right now is collaborating, right?
There's a healthy type of competitiveness
Bingo.
and a really dangerous type. That's the forbidden path. You know,
Mm.
when they always talk about like Shadow Tekai, that like or the dark side.
Yep.
That's like
Or
going
the Dark Hado, Street Fighter, Ryu, Evil Ryu.
yeah, it's like that's a path of negativity. It's kind of like
As you said in
self-centeredness.
the Force, right? Like as you said, positive and negative and neutral. So yeah, it's like
Yeah.
too much negative.
Well,
But
it's sometimes it's not even so much negative, but it's an imbalance.
Mm.
You could have just too much negative and too little positive,
Mhm.
or like a weird mix of positive and negative, and
Mhm.
it's just like it's causing problems until you get more efficient with expressing one or the other.
Mhm.
That's why like forbidden techniques are dangerous and very effective, but it's like you have to be the one willing to deal with the responsibility of wielding that power.
Mhm.
That's
It
why.
makes me think of Doctor Strange in the sense of like there's like eldritch magic and there's dark magic. If you use too much dark magic, it corrupts you, and every time you use dark magic, you have to detox yourself. You can't just continuously use it because there's been times where Doctor Strange has continuously used dark magic, and it corrupts him because it's like he hasn't detoxed himself from that
Probably
negative
hasn't
energy.
built up his tolerance either. He has a human body.
True, true. As opposed to like a non-human being like a sorcerer supreme. That's fact.
Exactly.
And so, yeah, for me, within so in the month of November, December, I basically it kind of goes as I'm saying. It's making think of what we've been talking about before. I basically did nothing.
Mm.
Um, yes, I actually had to, and like the whole like which is not a bad thing, but like that sort of the masculine needing to be efficient and successful energy like I've got from my dad, which helps me get to where I got to. I had to really like kind of dead that side of my head, in a sense of because I actually pulled from working, no, from sleeping, not even working out, from sleeping, I pulled a nerve in my left shoulder, and then as we're doing this, I think you notice I've been stretching a lot. I'm lanky, and I have
It's really important.
right, and like I learned I have acute arthritis in my right knee. I think I might have it in my left knee too, but I have it in my right knee. And I was in someone's podcast, right? And the whole time I was sitting cramped up like this, like with my knees at like a 45-degree angle for like an hour. So like my right knee, I had to go to a doctor about it as we're talking about doctor, and my right knee was flared up.
Shit.
So I couldn't.
Having it.
So I couldn't like. I think I had to drive my girl somewhere. 5-10 minutes. I physically like by the time I was driving back home, I was physically in pain. Like I had to actually like at some point I had to drive with my left foot, or no, I had to put the car in. I think yeah, no, now I remember. Like we were at a red light, I had to put the car in park just to stretch on my right leg because I'm like I wasn't gonna be able to make it from pharmacy and Ellesmere to pharmacy and Danforth. Like I wasn't gonna physically make it. You see how short that distance is, bro?
Not even too much.
Yeah, like my right leg could not do it. Like it was so much pain. So I actually had to stop doing like Black Nurse Talk sessions. So that was like a month and a half. Like if you, I don't know if you were following me at that point, but like I just, you didn't see me post.
Yeah, I think I noticed as well because I was like, well, I've always had my eyes on people I want to collaborate with.
Like, appreciate that.
Even though I'm not able to get to it at the time, it's like it's written down and I'm observing in my spare time.
Yeah, so I had to actually like stop because like my nerve, like I wasn't sleeping properly because like I'd wake up, like the medication I was prescribed was naproxen. You know, naproxen, to give people perspective, I think today's International Women's Day.
Yeah.
Women go through a lot of extreme pain when they go through their periods. Like I know some of my friends who they faint from sheer pain. I've had to drive someone to the hospital. I have a lot of female friends. I've had to drive someone to the hospital. Those are the type of situation that naproxen is prescribed for, where like you're about to faint. You're like
super pain.
Exactly. Like I was prescribed. Like my girl saw my medication. She's like, that's the same one I use.
Damn.
And like when she's in pain, like when she like there's been times where like she's had to be picked up from work because she's like so curled up in her pain, doubled over in her pain. So like for me, yeah, like that's how much pain I was going through. Like every day I woke up, I was like I had a hard time even just going to work. I only had like maybe 3 shifts at the time, and eventually became 2. And even those 2 shifts, I'd wake up. So if I woke up at like 8, for the first 15 to 20 minutes, I'm lying in bed from pain because like it was burning. Like on top of that, even from the time I'm sleeping from 12 to 8 or whatever, I'm waking up a good 2 or 3 times because like I'm lying down and maybe I turned over and now I aggravated the nerve, so I have to. So I'm not sleeping, and on top of that, my right knee's flared up, so I had to I'm too tired to do anything. Sorry?
Can't even lie down comfortably.
I can't lie down comfortably. And this is with me taking naproxen. It took a hot minute before the naproxen actually kicked in. Like I actually had to go to the doctor. I'm like, first I thought it was gonna go away, but then it just got worse and worse. So that's when I got prescribed
Ah.
naproxen. That's when I also learned because I was like I need to figure out what's going on with my knees. 'Cause I've always had like my knees be sensitive. It's like a family thing.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's when I learned about the acute arthritis, and that's when I like I realized that like I flared it up. So there's no way I could do a recording session with you because I couldn't sit down for more than 5 or 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And then my right nerve, my left nerve was pinched, so there's no way I'm sleeping. So I have the energy. And if you're tired, you don't have the energy to create.
Yeah,
So I was just
yeah.
like,
It's sucking. One thing that I've learned to appreciate about the Super Saiyan body is like the recovery time. Like your body is programmed to just like fixing itself,
Mhm.
and like you kind of have to give it credit. It's
Mhm.
like years of evolution
Mhm.
brought it to this point,
Mhm.
but it saps your metabolism and energy from everything else.
Yep.
So like the moment that my legs started to swell up last night,
Mhm.
I just had to sit back and stare up, and all my friends were like, "Listen, if you fall asleep in the bar, I'm going to draw on your face." And I'm like, first of all, I haven't dropped out of Super Saiyan yet.
Mhm.
Second of all, I just need to conserve my energy. I'm fully awake, but
Mhm.
I can't even engage in conversation.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, it's hard when you just have to like literally, as the art of doing nothing. So for me, the last month and a half, which was great, going back once again, the art of doing nothing, in a sense of I spent a lot of time um, reflecting, reassessing myself based off like, what am I doing in Black Nurse Talk, this nerd therapy, what I'm trying to get to, and also specifically, I noticed that like I hit like a wall in terms of my development as a Guilty Gear competitive player, and then like where is this coming from? And it came down to me understanding that like my competitive nature comes from like we all have our inner childhood experiences of negativity right now. So for me, I learned that um, the reason I'm competitive is because growing up, everyone always thought there was something wrong with me with the way I was always so obsessive about things. Like if I was like to give a visual representation, like as I was into Ninja Turtles when I was younger, I had the Ninja Turtle pillowcase, I had the Ninja Turtle bed sheet, I had Ninja Turtle drapes, and all the Ninja Turtle toys with the turtle van, and I was playing the Ninja Turtle game.
So
with
you
Ninja
had
Turtle.
to flex on everybody.
Basically, I was coming to school with Ninja Turtle socks, bro. Like if I'm about something, even to this day, if I'm about something, I'm about it. Like I'm obsessive. So like for my family, especially my extended family, no slight on them. It's just they don't know, right? They don't understand me, as opposed to how I understand myself now. Like it's weird for a kid to have Ninja Turtle drapes and the Ninja Turtle bed sheet and Ninja Turtle blanket, and Ninja Turtle toys, and the Turtle van and 45 different editions of the Ninja Turtles with Ninja Turtle socks and Ninja Turtle shoes.
Nah, but that's pretty lit though. You have the childhood family. Like if you're able to devote yourself to one thing, and it's like sometimes you get the like multiple toys chests, but like if you had a one theme for your room and you're able to decorate your life around it, like bro, like the Sonic the Hedgehog bedroom is the dream for most kids.
Exactly.
Like,
so, but like for when my family looked at it, like as much as I was happy, and I always would say if I have a good childhood or had a good childhood, whatever, they always thought that was weird. So I always had this need to kind of prove people wrong. So like for me, in terms of like it was good I started Black Nurse Talk. It taught me it really helped me develop the ability to just do, even though I've already created a gaming scene. But like I always had this need, like I have to, like someone's like there's be times like my girl will be like, oh, I don't think you're gonna make this left turn. I'm like, oh yeah, bet, and I'll because like I have to prove them wrong. But then I had to really ask myself. I remember I was watching this session, I forgot his name, Lewis Howes, and he was talking to Kyle Cease about like let's say someone like lied about you, how would you feel? So Lewis Howes said he felt what did he say? He said he felt abused, and he went through childhood abuse. For me, when I was watching a video, because like my best friend, she exposed me to Kyle Cease, and he was like, I watched this thing of him called The Big Talk, and I actually want to do my own version of that, talking about the Devil May Cry series at some point. But anyways, I was just like, I wanted, if I thought about that and actually went through that, where some people lied about me, which I was talking about, being stabbed in the back. I was like, how would I feel? Not even how would I feel, how do I feel? Because I'm living that. And the thing that came to my mind was so Lewis House said abuse, I said attacked. So I'm like, why do I feel attacked? The attack comes from having a lot of experiences when I was younger where people thought there was something wrong with me. So I had to like fight back. So I'm competitive and I'm combative. So like, oh, you think you can't do it? Alright, bet. Like there's been girls I've gotten with because people say I couldn't get with her. Oh, you think I can't? Bet. Oh, you think you can do this? Bet. So eventually, I had to like really develop like and kind of challenge that mentality. Like you've done so much in your life, you don't need to like do that anymore.
Yeah, like what's important right now.
Exactly. So like that whole month was just really like self-reflection in terms of like how I see myself and like why I'm doing Black Nurse Talk and why I'm trying to get to where I get to and why I want to get there. So for me, I had to learn like in terms of developing myself as a Guilty Gear player. Cause I was learning like my state of mind is blocking me from getting better. So what at this point I've hit my limit. So that means I have to undo what I am.
Whoa, that was kind of ballsy.
I have to, or as like I think they said it in the first Avengers movie. I had to unlearn who I am. I had to undo whatever I am. It has to be undone. It has to be unwoven, because like I can't build off of it anymore. It has to be completely undone for something.
For a new foundation.
Bingo. So I have to like just really undo everything I am. And there's been many times, in terms of like my gameplay in Guilty Gear, where like I had to take a bunch of L's.
Yeah.
And you have to do that, right? Like if you're undoing
That's
yourself,
how you
you're
learn
good.
how to fight.
Bingo.
Fighting games or whatever. Or
Exactly.
Fight for your dreams. You have to hug the L.
Exactly.
It's so important.
Exactly.
So
Like
important.
there's so many times like I've seen artists like criticize because of the way they change their music, but I'm like, I noticed like as someone who writes poetry, I'm sure you can expand on it even further because you're like a artist on multiple levels. Like it gets tiring doing the same thing. You want to do something different. When you do something different, the first time you do it, it sucks.
Yeah.
You gotta hug that L, but that's okay. Just undoing what you are. Like I've had to undo myself as like a competitive player to actually get to the next level. And I know whenever I got to that next level, I'm like, I was taking L's for like maybe the first week or two. Everyone's taking L's now.
True. Yeah, it's really important to be able to look at what you are and what you've established. I mean, like, what are the elements of these that I'm introducing, and how do I switch those things? I think my path of progress has been a lot more throughout the years, just like, here's what we have, what are we putting on top of it, and just like stacking skills, kind of like all for one. But all for one or one for all?
One for all. Yep.
Yeah.
One for all. Jeez.
Definitely, when I turned Super Saiyan, it was an experience of like taking all these skills and understanding. Okay, or at least understanding the value of each of those skills, and being at least on a higher pedestal, and being like, okay, how do I actively use these things practically? Something as simple as washing your hands, to something like
It's making me think of when Goku and Gohan were in the hyperbolic time chamber.
you kind of have to look at the things that you are able to do and be like, how is that a technique? Well, what energy does that cost?
I can feel the energy while you're talking. For me, it's always been like, how can I do this better?
Yeah.
Like I'm doing this, okay, there has to be a better way of doing this thing, because like this can't be the maximum way you can do it. It can be better. So let's think about how we can make that happen.
And often, sometimes the answer does root back to preserving yourself, because like in martial arts, to make a strike sharper, you have to make it fit within a certain amount of area of like what's the word?
Circumference or
circumference, kind of like that.
Trajectory, target.
Not so much physically, but say like the difference between an overhand hook and like a straight jab. One's going from point A to point B a lot faster.
Yeah.
And the technique is all about the drawback more than actually hitting. Whereas when you're following through and you're throwing a lot of mass into it, how can you recover from that? At least fast and efficiently. That's a strong power move, but it's like the cost of it is, it's a finishing move. You don't pull that out at the beginning of the fight, or you're already overextending.
Maybe that's why anime characters never use their ultimate attacks at the beginning, which would have probably saved them time, in my opinion.
But it's like, that's the entire philosophy of fighting. What if you missed at the beginning and you strained yourself?
That's true. You've actually now counteracted everything in anime and video games with one bar. Jeez! Now there's actually a reason that anime characters never use, video game characters never use their ultimate attacks.
Yeah.
What if you missed?
Yeah, I think that's what, though, like something that they always had to like pay attention to, because after Goku started like developing the Kamehameha and using it in different forms,
Mhm.
he had to start to realize, hey, I can only do this a certain amount of times per day at full power at least.
Very
You
true.
know,
Very true.
or going over a certain amount, he wouldn't necessarily strain himself,
Mhm.
but I know there was a time at this in the series where like two Kamehamehas in a fight and he needs to eat. Like he can't fight until he's had something to eat.
Mhm.
You know, and
Mhm.
he had to sit down on the martial arts tournament floor because his belly was yelling at him.
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
and it was Krillin who was the first one to be like, okay, if I fire the Kamehameha and it missed, what if I develop a technique to direct that wave so that it becomes a homing target?
That's true. Because Killin was like the first ones to really develop like the curving of the energy wave, right?
Yeah, or like
Mm.
directing it, and I think that speaks a bit to his like
Creativity.
his creativity strategy, but expression of chakra control. You know how like
Mm.
shape was important in Naruto learning how to use the
Yep.
Rasengan.
Yep.
So
Yep.
like for Krillin, he had to understand the wave, but how the wave follows through,
Mhm.
and then
Being a
how
part of it or allowing it to be a part of you.
well continuously as well.
Mhm.
Like even
Mhm.
after that energy leaves you, how
Mhm.
are you directing it
Mhm.
without being physically in contact with it?
Mhm.
And then there was also
Kind of
like
makes you think about thought process, like how are you controlling, how are you observing your own thoughts and your ideas.
exactly, because it's like you let your energy out into the world. Okay, you have to be able to track it, or else you're
Mhm.
just giving energy and not being able to be like, okay, how's that coming back to me?
Mhm.
And if you spend your energy and you don't know if it's going to come back to you, then it's probably not a good investment.
Which is what happened to you and I, right?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
Um, and then like um, that's the other thing about changing forms. You change form for something that you like for a specific need. So
Mhm.
Krillin went from being able to understand the wave to following through with the wave to directing it to sharpening it
Mm.
and
Destructo disc.
making the destructo disc. And then after that, he was able to have a bit more energy. Is like,
Mhm.
okay, 3 of these at a time. You know?
Only they actually spend on some of the Dragon Ball characters. I think that's a wasted energy just to really, as you're talking about, I'm like, wow, yeah, Krillin actually was very innovative
Yeah,
in the Dragon Ball series.
I feel like this series is very, very interesting. It's just that a lot of people talk about it in the sense of like there was guidebooks given out for like, or the guidebooks made for like the series as it was going along. So they have like things like, oh, this form has a 50% multiplier, but like you kind of have to understand it on the level of actual fighting techniques and like
Interesting.
the warrior way. You know, it's
Mhm.
like you don't track through like video game percentages. Oh, this gave you a boost. You have to
Mhm.
think about, okay, where did they start in the fight? What was their emotional state? Were they allowed to build up steam safely or not? How much energy are they using for these techniques, and what's their conviction in the fight? You know,
Mhm.
conviction in the fight is
Mhm.
very, very important.
Yeah.
If you're fighting for the wrong reasons, you're going to end up losing.
My first to 7, like once I got in, I could see the way he was talking to me. I'm like, he's not going with a mind state to win.
Mm-hmm.
Like people say, oh, technique. I'm like, no. Like first, like I would say a majority of a fight, on any level, is your mental state.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Like if you don't have the right mental state, I don't care how good you are, or if you don't have mental fortitude.
Mm-hmm. Because the moment you start to lose your mental footing
Mhm.
is when you start to shut down and go defensive without purpose.
Mhm.
And if
Or you attack without purpose. You're just throwing stuff out.
and you open yourself up. And
Yeah.
it's like someone with a clearer state of mind is
Mhm.
going to be able to take advantage of
Mhm.
that.
For me, I know like whenever I'm playing in someone, I can tell once I've gotten to your head, and I can tell when you've given up. So I'm like, okay, it's easy now. Like your cakewalk, your
Mhm.
baby food. Once you can get into someone, like once you know exactly like, oh, they've given up, because there's certain people that like they'll take 10 losses, they can still keep going.
Yeah.
And there's certain people they'll 3, or even just like a mistake they'll make in a match. I'm like, oh, you made a mistake and you're thinking about it.
That's where you catch them off guard.
Exactly. Like I'll just feed off of that mistake that you made. That's all I had to do. Because you're not even thinking about, oh, I made a mistake. How can I recover? You just realize that like you overextended your right hook, and now you got hit, and that's all you're thinking about. Instead of thinking about
it hurts mentally and and it hurts like with whatever means you're actually using for combat.
exactly.
Yeah, I definitely feel that. Something I wanted to touch on. Yeah, controlling controlling the
The
pace
energy.
of the battle is also very important from the start. If you can do it from the start, from like being introduced to your fighter, from like coming into the situation, again, conviction, all of that really matters. And like I've been finding out how to do it. You know, it really is mental fortitude, but also being prepared to step into the situation, having the experience with like I've done this before, I can do it again at least, and open my eyes and observe and tackle the situation with an open mind. You know, and I think that's why the art of doing nothing is so important in the sense that you need to learn how to freestyle. And I cannot freestyle with words, but I can freestyle with rhythms, and I'm getting better at freestyling with my body. So I take whatever is going to happen, and I see like, okay, what are my options for reacting with this? Reacting to this. How much time do I have? How much gas do I have? And then consider my options and go. You know, if I see a chance that I have to take a simple roundhouse kick, you start off with light jabs, of course. You know, so our style is light jabs is a roundhouse kick. You know, there's lighter jabs than that, but you use those to combo into higher level techniques. But yeah, you take time at the beginning, and then you get up to speed. And you find your openings, because like from the beginning you're like, okay, I'm in this, I know what I'm doing, and I'm confident. The moment you start to lose confidence or back up, especially in my style, you start to back up and you're losing footing, you're losing ground. They allow someone to pressure you, and you're going to end up hurting yourself before they start gaining points and actually finishing you off. And it's a really useful skill for me right now, because I have to be able to train with kids but not hurt them. And I'm very proud of the kids that I train with, because they're pint sized, but they're willing to take me on. A lot of them are like, a lot of the kids are taller than me, and they're like, no, I don't want it.
I don't want the smoke. I don't want the Thunderclaw smoke. Jeez.
Some of my second degree black belts are like up to my knees, but they'll pressure me. You know.
Okay.
There's this 13-year-old girl who has the most innocent face and rosy cheeks, and she just started coming to Taekwondo. Her legs will reach your face within an instant. She doesn't know how to control herself. She was born with a curse mark, and she has all this power, and she's just starting, and she doesn't know how to control it.
So she's kind of like a Gohan in our Broly.
A little bit, yeah. She'll just like, she has a natural pace for fighting that no one taught her. And like, she'll kick you in the face, be like, sorry. We have to tell her to be like, don't say sorry, and we have to tell other kids like, you should have been on your guard more. But I had the chance to fight her recently, and she was pressuring the shit out of me. I was like, granted, I shouldn't have been using Kaioken, but it was also like I had to amp myself up, or if I like one wrong step and she could have knocked me out, you know. And I was never really fighting back, just trying to do a lot of defense, figure out what her moves are. But an exceptional kid, you know.
I think that's the thing. Like, people are there's certain, everyone has like kind of natural talents, which is why, like, you know, in terms of the program, trying to create like to really help people, a lot of the kids develop like what is my natural talents. Because you and I, it's taken us years to kind of discover that, right? I want to kind of cut that in half, if that's possible.
Speed it up for the next generation.
Bingo. Will of fire, bro. Will of fire.
You give them the support that they need, and some sort of foundation or grounding to stand on, and they're able to see a bit more of the world, and they'd be like, oh, resources are a thing, and I need them. Okay, how do I quantify these and qualify these? How do I organize my life and make things better for other people? You know,
Bingo.
It's a path.
Yeah, so like for me, it's always been like, like just knowing, like, I know there's certain people that are naturally, like one of my boys, he's naturally better than me at fighting games. I have to train my reflexes. I don't have that good of like I have pretty good motor skill reflexes, like compared to most people who don't play video games. My athletic reflexes are trash, but like my motor skill reflexes are very good. Like, you know, in terms of driving or in a game, like I can actually react. But I have to like, I've had to develop my reflex. Cause I know like there's certain people there's the Gohans and the Brolys of the world who just like they naturally have an affinity for a certain
thing.
There's
the people who are playing Smash Bros, but they trained with Melee when they were younger.
Bingo, right? So, you know, I'm not one of those ones. So like I had to like really develop like, okay, you can't react to this, so you have to train yourself how to react to this, because that's who you are. Because you also have the ability to, you're also I also know I'm someone that trains really well. So.
Actually, that reminded me of something because I got into like playing Call of Duty when I was in high school,
Mhm.
and it wasn't really my type of game, but all my boys were playing it, and I got to spend time with my boys and find the fun in it. Like they put me onto Modern Warfare 3 and 2 and Black Ops 1, and then Black Ops 2 dropped, and that shit was amazing. But I developed this thing called Black Ops training, where basically I was realizing, okay, my reaction time isn't fast enough, and my fingers need to be more sensitive. The only times I would actually play good was when my sensitivity was at 14 and I can handle it. So I would set time aside to play the game and be like, okay, during this session, every time I lose, that's 10 push-ups. Every time I win, that's 10 sit-ups. Or maybe I'll relax that round, depending on what I feel I need for my body. But I would specifically do fingertip push-ups.
Interesting. Okay, talk to me about that. That's interesting.
Because
I had a different training. I have a different form of training, so I want to hear this
like,
out.
How long is a game? 5 to 10 minutes.
Okay.
Depending on what game mode you're playing, but I usually run team deathmatch and only team deathmatch, and it's really all I needed. But if you really put your mind to it, you can do 10 push-ups every 10 minutes.
Yeah.
You know?
Easily. Yeah.
It's kind of tricky though because like you're putting all your weight on your fingertips. But it's just like I wanted to get stronger. I wanted my grip to get stronger, but also my fingertips more sensitive, so I would hold that.
Okay. So how did it actually have an impact?
It actually, yeah, for at least for a little bit, it did have an impact. Like I fell off with playing, but also like
you had a lot of things you were juggling with.
Yeah. But yeah, I
interesting.
did, like because I was able to develop a program for myself. I was able to strengthen myself through being dedicated and paying that time, attention to myself, my needs, and what I felt I needed to get out of that experience. And also, like it really did do my grip strength a lot better because it's like the strength in your forearms is kind of often neglected if you're depending on if you're a bodybuilder or martial artist or like if you're a bodybuilder you're definitely paying attention to each of your muscles, you know, but like for the general public you're often probably not thinking about how strong your forearm muscles need to be, but also their health and flexibility. You know, and as a martial artist who also plays violin, it's like okay, these have to stay safe, but they have to stay strong and flexible, or else they're just going to bunch up. And because I'm able to pay attention to specific things like the health of one body part, you're able to observe the differences in people's lifestyles and like how that affects them. Like every baller I've ever dapped has the heaviest hands because they have all this strength in their fingertips, but they don't know how to flex or they don't know how to stretch it out. But they don't really need it. They just need the endurance to bounce a ball and be coordinated for a long period of time. You know?
That's interesting. Yeah, like actually my hands, because I don't play on remote, I actually play on arcade stick, so like my hands, I've had to really like develop the dexterity in my fingers. So my fingers have always been like very nimble. Like it's very few and very specific things that could cause me to have a hand cramp. Like as I think about it now, I don't get hand cramps from anything. Like the only thing that was giving me a hand cramp was the way the new technique I learned to brushing my teeth. And then for that I just got an electric toothbrush. But otherwise, like I don't get hand cramps. And even like the only time like cause me to get hand cramps if I haven't played fighting games for an extended period of time, like 2 or 3 months, and I get back to it, my hands are not obviously used to it. But otherwise, yeah, I don't get that.
Yeah.
And even for me, like as you're saying that in terms of like training yourself, like for me, like even just very like I remember like when Guilty Gear Revelator first dropped, like there's a specific button you press it, like you can do your super combo, and then to do an enhanced version of it you just have to press a different button, but it's still the same motion. Every time I was in a match I could not do it. So what I had to do, kind of going back on what you're saying, is whenever I learned a new character, or whenever I had to like learn how to do something in a fighting game, I would practice getting used to it, so my hands are just used to the dexterity of the motion. Because when it comes to like me actually doing my hands, like I don't remember how.
Yeah.
To go back into my learning disability, which I've talked about many a times, I have to recall the information, and then I have to translate it to my hands. that takes a long time. You're a
It
competitor,
is
so
a
you know, like,
process, and I
if
think
you have to
that's
think about something, that's the problem. You're not supposed to
yeah.
think about it.
That's the problem with like musicians as well, or just picking it up. It's like there's so many things that you have to connect and be like, okay, this is the finger that I'm using to get this note. This is the process that I'm using to coordinate my fingers to get this melody. You know, there's a lot of information to carry, so you have to get to the point where you can bridge those gaps and be like, okay, I'm not going from point A to B, C, and D anymore. I'm just going from A to D.
So yeah, so like for me, I couldn't do it. So I would practice the thing, whatever it is, and then I would have the computer play against me in max difficulty.
Yes.
So I would get used to. So I have to do it like I'm not actually playing against someone, because if I'm playing against someone, I'm gonna second guess more. But as I'm in training mode and the health is always resetting, whatever, I can continuously do it just to get my hands used to it, so that when I'm in an actual match, I can just do it, because I was just doing it against the computer at a high difficulty, and I got to have a chance to do it over and over and over and over, and I'll tell myself, okay, we're gonna do it, we're gonna do it again, we're gonna keep doing it until I'm like, okay, like I don't have to think about it. That's the point where you want to get to in anything, where you don't have to think about it. It's natural.
Yeah, you want to be comfortable with the pace, because it's like fighting against someone. The pace can go up and down. The computer, they're often
They can do the
just
same
like,
thing over and over.
They're just aggressive.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, pretty much.
at the very least, if you're running max aggression all the time in practice, when it goes up and down and you're able to save your energy, or notice when it switches,
Yep.
you're prepared.
Yep. Because you're always playing against people, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's essentially it.
Yeah, I did that when I was finally actually getting good at Super Mario Brothers Brawl for a week. And like there was one day where I sat in the house all day and I just ran the entire story mode for that game, just to get like
familiar.
I needed long-term exposure to just like handling the mechanics of the game, and it also runs you through every character.
Yeah. Oh yeah. True.
And then after that, I was just like training with like 3 level 9 Diddy Kongs, and not surviving, but it was like I was getting used to this pace of energy.
So that you can compete at that level.
Yeah, same thing with like how I'm training actually now. It's like you kind of have to know how to be familiar with the feeling of throwing your legs over your head one after the other in quick succession, but going back to your form so that you can defend yourself, having enough gas for that, so that you, when the time comes, if you have to gas yourself out and attack, or you have to use that gas to evade, you're ready for it.
That's facts. Ooh.
I've been finding that like martial arts is applicable to everything.
Facts. For me, it's been fighting games. Like I feel like, I don't know. I feel like that's something that like is like a difference between in my relationship with my girl, because like she's never, like, we were having a really good talk yesterday, and she's like, I never really had to hug L's, and I'm like, yo, I had to hug mad L's in life, especially as a competitor. Like, yo, you're losing. You're gonna lose if you compete in anything. You will lose. You have to taste that.
A couple losses.
Yeah.
You be number one from the start. Man.
Bingo. Like you're gonna take L's. It's the first time you compete.
You're just gonna take a heavy L in the end if you're just like keep on getting W's.
It's true. Like I remember there's a quote that one of my boys used, Zach. He always said like I think it was like, too much victory will eventually lead to loss.
Oh yeah, definitely. That's it's not really overextension, but it is just getting too used to
a routine. Actually.
Yeah, like
the routine is
going
winning.
to this situation, and you're like, I expect that I'm going to win because that's what my experience is.
And once you come with the expectation,
you already have a plan, so you're not doing nothing anymore. You're trying to control the flow of the battle instead of letting it flow.
You're trying to control variables that you can't control, as Vision put in the second Avengers movie, Age of Ultron. Human beings try to control what cannot be.
Yeah, that's a fact.
Just let it be. Just let it go. Just let it just happen, instead of like trying to force it to happen.
I feel like that comes out of like there's a lot of things that comes out of, because it's like our feelings of love kind of drive us for the things that we feel that we want, and those often make us believe that like we are owed certain things from the universe, but the universe is indifferent. Like there's things here you may end up with them if you're in the right timeline, but otherwise, if it's not for you, it's not for you.
Bingo.
And it's kind of hard for us as humans to accept that for some reason. That's why
Ego.
It's that, but it's also like that's been the driving force of our evolution and how we got so far.
True.
We wanted shit. It wasn't just our survival needs.
We wanted more.
We wanted more, and it's like now I have a home studio.
Yep.
We got to that point where we can set up programs and infrastructure for our children so that they don't have it as rough as we did.
Bingo.
Like, I guess there's positive and negative ego as well.
Yeah, no, 100%. Like, I would say there's a small E and the big E. I would say the big E is the right one that we need, because it makes us know that we deserve more instead of just quote unquote settling. Like, oh, like I want more. Like in terms of where I'm living, it's not good enough for me anymore. It's not a bad thing. It's just that I'm not at this stage anymore. And to tell myself I'm at this stage, I'm lying and I'm trying to control variables. It's time for me to just do
what you need to do.
Exactly, to get to where I need to get to.
Yeah, and oftentimes, or like when you see the investment cost of something that you need to do, it can be terrifying to be like, okay, I have to take this leap.
Leap of faith. I always love that.
Oftentimes, you do have to jump because it's like over our lives we've made millions of investments without knowing it, and our lives are the sum of how many of those investments went a certain way. If you're making more decisions and investments in your entire life that are predicated towards where you're trying to go and who you're trying to be, it's more often than not those things will give you a good return as opposed to squandering your energy and trying to invest in everything that's not you. So it really does come from knowing yourself at first, but after that being able to like every time you have to make a decision, is this good for me right now? Can I afford this? How will it benefit me? How can I capitalize off of this and keep moving forward?
Facts. Woo.
The knowledge.
Facts. I think this has been a great session. In terms of some nerd therapy, I think you and I dropped some gems. You definitely dropped some gems for me, to be honest with you. In terms of just positive, negative, and just the act of doing nothing, and just really taking the time for yourself and just really solidifying how I feel in terms of things in my life. Thunderclaw, my guy, it's been a blessing to do a session with you. Hopefully we can do more in the future.
And getting to share knowledge, I'm definitely down to do more in the future.
Jeez!
Like there's so many topics that like we could dig into just from our understanding of the world around us, and like comparing and sharing perspectives with us and other people as well.
100%. Whew, yeah. Hope you guys enjoyed this session. Went from Dragon Ball to talking about Universe 7, literally Universe 7, like the universe. Binary codes. And yeah, so I hope you guys enjoy it. Black Nerds Talk, Nerd Therapy, we out.
We out.